Finally, for his being stubborn, not doing a presentation, he shall now pay a premium. Chairman of Cape Racing, Mr. Greg Bortz, co-owner of Cape Racing and executive chairman of Cape Racing and chairman designate of prospective Gold Circle in KZN. In South Africa, we currently have 3 racing operators, 4 racing who are present today. We have Gold Circle and we have Cape Racing, but Gold Circle is going through a corporate transaction which the Competition Commission has approved, and we're in the process of getting licensing. And Mr. Bortz has been, he's the chairman designate of Gold Circle as well. Mr. Bortz formed the Bortz family office after retiring from a career in investment banking and private equity, during which he founded the Los Angeles-based private equity firm Creo Capital Partners. Mr. Bortz currently serves as chairman of GMB Investments. GNB is a South African holding company of the Bortz family office and is involved in private equity, real estate, public and private investing in South Africa. GMB is a major shareholder in Grand Parade Investments Limited, a publicly listed owner of casino and slot machine businesses in South Africa. Mr. Bortz serves as CEO of Grand Parade. Mr. Bortz is a lifelong horse racing fan and passionate racehorse owner. Mr. Bortz, please make your way up to stage. We can have a seat here, Mr. Bortz. Okay, Mr. Bortz, so are you ready?
All ready.
So let's start at the top, leadership style. In my current role, personally, as a regulator, my style, my acronym that I use is PAR. P for predictability, A for adaptability, and R for resilience. That works, those characteristics work in what I do. What is your leadership style?
Try and lead by example. I mean, coming into racing, for those that have followed the South African story, I mean, we came into, when we bought Cape Racing, came in sort of the day it was falling over. It actually couldn't make payroll and came in with an emergency loan and wound up taking over. Not only was the company broken, but the culture was completely devoid. It was toxic, it was negative. So it required a leadership style that was leading by example. So you had to create the culture. You had to create it. So my leadership style, I would say, was bringing energy and passion and trying to infuse that in the people that were there. So when walking around the premises, the race course, if I saw a piece of paper on the floor, I'd pick it up, or cigarette butt, I'd pick it up. And when you do that in front of employees and they see that the chairman is doing that, that sort of flows through. So leadership by example, passion, energy. And then I think the other thing that I found, it's different in every racing jurisdiction, but certainly in what I inherited was committee after committee after committee, and really try to do away with all of them and try and just make quick decisions, streamline decision making, a quick yes, a quick no. If you get it wrong, you apologize, you change course. But it's the speed to execution, I think, is also a key part of the leadership style.
But the purpose of committees, just to add to the point, is for consultation. Am I correct? And spreading you. So you say that you don't believe in committees, or you minimize your committee numbers?
Yeah, I don't believe in that.
First point. Point number 2. How do you navigate the sustainability and governance outcomes as an executive chairman of Cape Racing and soon to be Gold Circle, from a governance and sustainability? How do you navigate those challenges?
Well, I think every jurisdiction is different. Once again, South Africa, there's no government involvement, there's no government support. So we don't have the benefit of any of that. There's no tax money coming in, there's no government involvement. So it is a pure privately owned business. So when you talk about governance, in the case of Cape Racing and soon to be Gold Circle, which is one of the other operators that we're in the process of acquiring, there are 2 shareholders, private shareholders. So it's privately owned, so the governance relates to what one would expect in a privately owned business. In terms of sustainability, of course, it is our job, using our own private capital, to turn racing around and make it sustainable somebody spoke earlier about for generations to come, and that's the aim.
Thank you for that. So normal sporting organizations gains their revenues from media rights, gate takings, sponsorships. Having previous experience in the betting division or working for an operator, I understand that lacks in South Africa. What is your business model? What will be your business model for sustainability?
What is clear coming in is that the business model, which was the business model that existed for the decades previous, was completely broken and required a complete rethink. The whole conference has been spoken about at depth about the decline in betting turnovers. There's very few places where that's been felt as strongly as in South Africa, where the tote has seen a precipitous decline. So I think it's 0.7% of all dollars or rands wagered in South Africa is wagered on the tote. So relying on just turning the tote around would have been a long road to hoe. So the key for us has been to come up with revenue sources that are actually not from racing, but using the assets, and Bruce before me spoke, but using the assets that exist on our race courses to come up with non-racing related revenues and profits that can be used to sustain racing in perpetuity. So yes, we make money from broadcast, yes, we make money from wagering, but not enough, nowhere near enough.
Okay, so thank you. So that's fair. So flowing from that question, from a South African perspective, between the three operators, it is common knowledge that it's more profitable for you to bet on another's product than stay in your own meeting. Would you look at going down that route?
Well, it's not a question of going down that route. It is what it is. I mean, as it sits today, if you put on a race meeting, I've got to pay for you're the regulator. It's quite a unique situation in South Africa, which is the racing operators contribute towards the funding of the regulator. So every time we put on a race meeting, we pay for the regulator, we pay for the prize money, we pay for everything to stage a race meeting. With gaming revenue having declined like it has, the income from that and from broadcast doesn't cover the cost of putting on a race meeting, say for your one or two big race meetings a year. So it just so happens when racing is elsewhere in South Africa, on a race course hosted by the other operator, you don't have the costs associated with it, but you do get the betting income. But that's not a business model. So that is just a consequence of our environment today. So that's not a business model in and of itself. The business model is what I said to you previously, which is coming up with other means to generate revenue, to generate profits that are not related to racing in order to fund racing. At the end of the day, the reason we're doing it is purely because of our love and passion of the sport. Anybody that's ever owned a horse and ever had a winner, you're hooked for life. It's the nature of it, and that's what we're here to do.
Fair enough, I understand that. Stakes. I'm a firm believer that stakes is the magnet, is the attraction to grow ownership base. How do you navigate your stakes? What have you done with your stakes in a depressed environment?
Yeah, it's not rocket science, completely agree. You've heard different schools of thought as to how to fix racing, or certainly how to fix it in South Africa. And one school of thought was you've got to focus on the punter, on the gambler. That's where you've got to focus. And our view was different. Our view is we have to focus on the owner. At the end of the day, if you're going to buy a racehorse, certainly in South Africa, it's a crazy economic proposition. It's a guaranteed money loser. So why would you do such a silly thing? You're doing such a silly thing because it's your form of entertainment. It's a form of enjoyment. It's not an investment. However, people were making that crazy investment or loss and coming and having a terrible experience on the race course. So we decided to make the owner as being the first thing that we had to focus on. So we did that by upping stakes to make it more financially viable and enjoyable, and two, investing very heavily in our properties. So when an owner walks on board, he is treated like royalty. He understands why he made the leap to buy a racehorse. So stakes and ownership enjoyment is absolutely crucial and fundamental.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm glad you agree that stakes is the magnet. South African position, Don't forget the theme, the narrative. Be together, stride together. We have 3 operators. We're down to 2 soon. It is common in South Africa that there's not working together. Should be working together. Do you compete or do you collaborate? What is the vision?
No, I don't think we compete. I mean, there might be 2 operators. At the end of the day, the competition is what everybody else has discussed throughout this conference, which is the competition for the wallet share and mind share of our customer base. At the end of the day, if one of the other operators went away, it wouldn't help the other one succeed.
Correct.
Our threats are external to racing.
Fair enough, understood. Then, Mr. Bortz, let's talk about risks now. So you invest these monies in, you're looking to take over Gold Circle. I can simplify risks. Risks are bad things happening or good things not happening. We live in a very dynamic world. Things change all the time. How do you navigate that from a risk perspective, knowing where you are, knowing the status of the economy and where racing is? How do you manage the good things not happening?
I think coming into racing, or certainly coming in South Africa, the bad things had already happened. Racing was dead, right? The patient wasn't dying, it was dead. So the risks are already on the table. So now it's about innovation and innovating. We already know where our downside is. We know the money that we have to put in order to turn it around. We know the value of the assets that we have acquired, namely the real estate and the properties. And now it's about getting a return on that investment.
So that flows into my last question. Cape Racing is very strong, asset rich, very asset rich. You touched on that. You at the stage that you don't believe you have optimized your ROA, return on assets. Am I correct in stating that?
Definitely.
Definitely that. So that seems to me your first win. Am I correct in saying that? Or is it, have you actioned that, or are you continuing to action that?
Yeah, so we've already spent hundreds of millions of rands on upgrading our facilities, as I said, about enhancing the ownership journey. So that's the first thing that we've done. Second thing we've done is we have 2 race courses. At our smaller race course, we are doing a residential development that's taking place at the middle of the race course. That's going to create sustainable funds for decades to come. And then finally, at our main race course, Hollywood Bets Kenilworth, we're in the middle of upgrading that and turning that into a 24/7, 365 lifestyle destination with paddle courts, 5-a-side courts, restaurants, etc. Instead of having this property be visited 30, 40 times a year, we want people there every day seeing the beauty of it. I actually think we did a video, which if they can maybe load that. Let's hit that.
Thank you, Greg. That's impressive. Just the final question. Export protocols also allowed to come. You now have a quarantine station. Have you spoken to the chairman of the ARF to have an international race there? When are you starting those conversations?
Well, the best part about South Africa has been isolated for so many years for so many reasons. We are clearly biased. But we do believe that our thoroughbreds can stand up to those from anywhere in the world. And we hope to have the opportunity to show that on an international stage. Thanks to all the work that Adrian and Saheb have done, and thank you to the Hong Kong Jockey Club and Winfred for the support of building on that. Once horses are flowing back and forwards, we would hope that it goes both ways. We would hope that our horses get the opportunity to go to some of the finer race courses in the world and and our equine athletes get to show their skills, and we would hope that we would be able to be included into the world calendar, and some of the world stars come visit our shores too.
Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're the champion.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you. That concludes the positive part of today's session. You passed the 2/3 mark. Well done. I need to conclude. Mr. Eads, I am in a galloping mood for posing questions. You're not going to get away lightly. I have a question for you. Are champions born or made? My answer is yeah. Thank you.
That's the most generous way of asking a question. You fill me with fear like a school teacher and then tell me the answers on the page here. Are champions born or made? My mum would say they're both, V, I hope. Which page is it? Here we are. The answer is champions are discovered. Well, thank you for that, V. Thank you for your inimitable style of moderating as well. And I think actually we've had a lot of discoveries in the last hour or so. The progress, the developments being made across so many of the jurisdictions that are, of course, members of the ARF. So thank you very much indeed for that.